to answer and 45 seconds for follow-ups. So let's begin. Senator Sanders, we haven't had a national unemployment rate this low for this long in 50 years. Here in South Carolina, the unemployment rate is even lower. How will you convince voters that a Democratic socialist can do better than President Trump with the economy?
Well, you're right. The economy is doing really great for people like Mr. Bloomberg and other billionaires. In the last 3 years,
the economy added 6.7 million jobs and unemployment fell to the lowest rate in half a century. The economy grew at around 2.1% most recently. Stock prices hit record levels. Household income grew, poverty decreased, and paychecks grew 2.5% after inflation. Home prices reached record levels, home ownership increased.
This country saw an $850 billion increase in their wealth. But you know what? For the ordinary American, things are not so good. Last year, real wage increases for the average worker were less than 1%. Half of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. 87 million Americans have no health insurance or are underinsured. 45 million people are struggling with student debt. 500,000 people tonight are sleeping out on the street, including 30,000 veterans. That is not an economy that's working for the American people. That's an economy working for the 1%. We're going to create an economy for all, not just wealthy campaign contributors.
Mayor Bloomberg. Mayor Bloomberg, I'll let you respond to that. Do you think Senator Sanders' economy would be better for America than President Trump?
I think that Donald Trump thinks it would be better if he's president. I do not think so. Vladimir Putin thinks that Donald Trump should be president of the United States, and that's why Russia is helping you get elected, so you'll lose to him.
Oh my God, Russia. Why must they treat us like morons with this Russia thing? Russia has the same size economy as Texas, and as Pete Buttigieg is about to point out, all they're doing is serving up a bit of chaos, and they're not even the main players at it. China are far more sophisticated at it. But this notion that they're interfering and controlling Manchurian candidates. Look at all the foreign policy that Trump's done against Russia. In fact, almost all of his foreign policy has been against Russia's interests. I mean, bombing Syria, arming Ukraine, rebuilding NATO. The Russia thing was a failed attempt from a fake dossier to try and smear Trump and to be used as the quote insurance policy. They discovered that yes, there was basically a room of people, because they don't even have the budget to have sophisticated machine learning and AI algorithms and bots, as lots of people like Hillary like to say. It's a room full of people registering social media accounts by the thousands and just basically pretending to be various different groups, different people, and just sowing discord and causing chaos and creating the division and all the craziness that's basically played out in front of our eyes, and caused the complete and utter deadlock in, I was going to say Parliament then, in the House and the Senate, and basically paralysed the country from within. It's called cyber warfare, and it has nothing to do with elections or Manchurian candidates. And why on earth would they want to start propping up Bernie, who wants to socialise medicine and spend a load of money. I mean, it's just nonsense. How do they expect people to even take that remotely seriously, let alone buy it? It's insulting. And then for the morons on the stage to start parroting it and using it, but it's just funny because it's just a really lame attempt at some kind of attack. It's like he thinks he can. God, imagine any of these people going up against Trump and that sort of environment. Imagine if Trump was on that stage at the same time as them. He'd make them all look ridiculous. And the way they keep talking about Putin, like actual Putin himself is there rubbing his hands together, plotting and scheming all these things and saying, yeah, right, I think we'll get Bernie in next and to do our bidding. What a load of nonsense. Just unbelievable. Russia are small players at cyber warfare, nothing on the scale of China, and yet that never gets mentioned. I mean, I'm sure Schiff has been briefed on China's meddling, but of course Russia fits in with the thing. So obviously the intelligence services have found more evidence of them playing around. They've probably mastered Instagram and TikTok this time round. So they've been briefed on that, and Schiff has leaked that out, and so the press have gone Russia on it again. My God, how insulting.
87 million Americans have no health insurance or are underinsured. 45 million people are struggling with student debt. 500,000 people tonight are sleeping out on the street, including 30,000 veterans. That is not an economy that's working for the American people. That's an economy working for the 1%. We're going to create an economy for all, not just wealthy campaign contributors.
Mayor Bloomberg. Mayor Bloomberg, I'll let you respond to that. Do you think Senator Sanders' economy would be better for America than President Trump?
I think that Donald Trump thinks it would be better if he's president. I do not think so. Vladimir Putin thinks that Donald Trump should be president of the United States, and that's why Russia is helping you get elected, so you'll lose to him.
Let me tell Mr. Putin, okay, I'm not a good friend of President Xi of China. I think President Xi is an authoritarian leader. And let me tell Mr. Putin, who interfered in the 2016 election, try to bring Americans against Americans. Hey, Mr. Putin, if I'm president of the United States, trust me, you're not going to interfere in any more American elections.
Senator Warren?
We know what Russia wants. It's chaos.
So look, the way I see this is that Bernie is winning right now because the Democratic Party is a progressive party, and progressive ideas are popular ideas, even if there are a lot of people on this stage who don't want to say so. But Bernie and I agree on a lot of things, but I think I would make a better president than Bernie. And the reason for that is that getting a progressive agenda enacted is going to be really hard, and it's going to take someone who digs into the details to make it happen. Bernie and I both wanted to help rein in Wall Street. In 2008, we both got our chance, but I dug in, I fought the big banks, I built the coalitions, and I won. Bernie and I both want to see universal health care, but Bernie's plan doesn't explain how to get there, doesn't show how we're going to get enough allies into it, and doesn't show enough about how we're going to pay for it. I dug in, I did the work, and then Bernie's team trashed me for it. We need a president who is going to dig in, do the hard work, and actually get it done. Progressives have got one shot, and we need to spend it with a leader who will get something done.
Judge, we want to bring you in this conversation. Why would the Russians want to be working on behalf of Bernie Sanders?
I'll tell you what the Russians want. They don't have a political party. They want chaos. And chaos is what is coming our way. I mean, look, if you think the last 4 years has been chaotic, divisive, toxic, exhausting, imagine spending the better part of 2020 with Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. Think about what that will be like for this country. And meanwhile, folks at home from South Carolina to South Bend are trying to figure out what any of this means for us. Because it's right that there is a progressive majority, an American majority, that wants to see real change, wants to see wages go up and go up faster than the cost of health and saving for retirement. But also there's a majority of the American people who I think right now just want to be able to turn on the TV, see their president, and actually feel their blood pressure go down a little bit instead of up through the roof. We have an opportunity to set a different tone.
You can do that already, Pete. Either be a Trump supporter or not bother with social media, don't watch cable news, and pretty much get on with your life.
Bernie Sanders' analysis is right. The difference is I don't like his solutions. I don't believe that a government takeover of large parts of the economy makes any sense for working people or for families. I think that what we need to do is to present an alternative that includes a vibrant, competitive private sector. But we all know unchecked capitalism has failed. The answer is not for the government to take over the private sector, though. The answer is for us to break the corporate stranglehold on our government and have the government work for the people again.
Vice President Biden?
Well, let me just finish, because we need to have an alternative to Donald Trump. I'm talking about doubling the minimum wage, cutting taxes by 10% for everybody who makes less than $250,000, and creating over 4.5 million good-paying union jobs. Donald Trump stinks. He's incompetent as a steward of the American economy. We have to show that we can create a growing, prosperous economy that works for American working people.
Mr. Steyer, thank you. Your time's up. Vice President Biden?
You know, we talk about progressive. Let's talk about being progressive. Walking distance here is Mother Emanuel Church. 9 people shot dead by a white supremacist. Bernie voted 5 times against the Brady bill and wanted a waiting period. No, let me finish. And waited a waiting period of 12 hours. I'm not saying he's responsible for the 9 deaths, but that man would not have been able to get that weapon with the waiting period had been what I suggest until you are cleared. In addition to that, being progressive, he thought Barack Obama, he wanted a primary, he said we should primary Barack Obama. Someone should. And in fact, the president was weak, and our administration was in fact not up to it. Look, folks, let's talk about progressive. Progressive is getting things done, and that's what we got done. We got a lot done.
Senator Sanders?
You know, Pete mentioned, I'm hearing my name mentioned a little bit tonight. I wonder why. And maybe, you know, Pete mentions what the American people want. I will tell you, Pete, what the American people want, and Joe, what the American people want. They don't want candidates to be running to billionaires for huge amounts of funding.
All right, let's clear this up once and for all.
Pete has gotten funding
you've got people
from
believing
over
something that is
50
false.
billionaires.
This
Joe,
needs
I
to be
think, has
cleared up.
gotten a little bit more. What the American people want, by the way, and a lot of the issues we'll be discussing tonight are issues I raised 4 years ago. Raising the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour, making public colleges and universities tuition free, and finally doing what every other major country on earth does, guaranteeing health care to all people as a human right through a Medicare for all single-payer system.
I can't allow this to stand because it's just not true. Senator
all right.
Sanders
We're
has
allow
got
everyone an
people
opportunity
believing
to
something
respond.
that is untrue about my campaign. The idea that most of my campaign is funded by billionaires.
say that, Pete.
50 people. All right. In Charleston alone, just in Charleston, over 2,000 people have contributed to my campaign. That means the dollars that have come to my campaign just from Charleston is more than the dollars that have come from the 50 people that you mentioned. Grassroots contributions are the lifeblood of my campaign. In fact, I shouldn't miss the opportunity. If you're watching right now and you support my campaign, go to PeteForAmerica.com and chip in. And if you're watching right now and you're a billionaire, I will raise your taxes. But if you'd like to defeat Donald Trump, please go to PeteForAmerica.com and donate the legal maximum of $2,800 if you're a billionaire.
All right, Mayor Buttigieg.
Okay.
Vice President Biden, I want to bring us to another topic. We're in South Carolina. It's the first primary with a significant black voting population. Your numbers appear to be slipping with black voters. And I'm wondering if you could respond about why that is happening to you at this particular time.
Well, first of all, the latest poll I saw, my numbers, I'm still 15 points ahead. The latest poll.
Yes, you're correct.
But look.
But Senator Sanders is in striking distance of you. You are within the margin of error in this state.
Well, it depends on which poll. Look, I've earned the vote. I've worked like the devil to earn the vote of the African American community, not just here, but across the country. I've been coming here for years and years, creating jobs here, making sure that the port, for example, that employs 1 in 11 people, we put $500 million in our administration just into this county. We've created jobs for people. The people know me. My entire career has been wrapped up in dealing with civil rights and civil liberties. I don't expect anything. I plan to earn the vote. I'm here to ask. I'm here to earn it. But folks, I intend to win South Carolina, and I will win the African American vote here in South Carolina.
Mr. Biden, will you continue if you do not win South Carolina? You have said that South Carolina will determine the outcome of this presidential race. If you don't win South Carolina, will you continue in this
I will
race?
win South Carolina.
All right, sir. Mayor Bloomberg, I'd like to bring you in this conversation. I want to ask you about a question that impacts the black and brown community. You've apologized for stop and frisk repeatedly. What exactly are you apologizing for?
We let it get out of control. And when I realized that, I cut it back by 95%. And I've apologized and asked for forgiveness. I've met with black leaders to try to get an understanding of how I can better position myself and what I should have done and what I should do.
What a shame that such an exceptional country such as the United States of America can't come up with a decent presidential candidate. It's the most extraordinary country filled with hundreds of millions of exceptionally talented, well-educated, diverse and intelligent people. Yet the first, 10, 14 minutes of that debate is frankly just an embarrassment. None of those people, well, bar Bernie, have a vision for the country, have a clearly defined list or set out plan of action for the economy, for well, like Bernie has, but not as disastrous. All they do is talk about how to defeat Donald Trump and take cheap shots at each other and kind of bicker on the stage over who's, and the way they talk about black and brown people and having to apologize for this, that. I mean, at least stand, if you're a man and you made a decision and you're trying to convince the country that you can be a leader, the leader of the free world. You kind of explain why you made the decision at the time, and explain that you thought that it was the right decision at the time. You made the decision, and that perhaps with hindsight and learning that maybe you would have done things differently, but at the time you thought it was the best thing to do. You don't start backtracking and start saying, apologizing. It's pathetic. That's not what leaders do. Buttigieg is the closest thing to a Manchurian candidate you can get. He's clearly a product of industry. He's got all the buzzwords, but he just looks like he's a rabbit that's been caught in the headlights. He comes off as, he's the same age as me, but he comes off as like a kid. You can't imagine him being president. You just can't picture any of them. Elizabeth Warren is just a liar, like a school teacher type person who feels she has to hide her private jet and just lies and has a track record of lying about everything. She's a notorious flip-flopper, having written that actually very good book about 10 years ago about the two-income trap, or whatever it was called. That was very good, and now 10 or 12 years later she's done a complete flip reversal and full-on socialist. And then we get to Bernie, who's basically the presumptive nominee here. These debates are pointless anymore, because I don't think anyone can handle more than the first 15 minutes of them. You know what's going to happen for the rest of the debates. Bernie clearly lies. I've pulled out stats there and even put them up on screen. He lies to try and get across his point. The socialist thing, everybody knows. You'd think a guy who's been in politics that long, everybody knows that is too fringe. The media are now really hitting it hard and finding old quotes, etc. But even with him trying to sell it as Sweden or Denmark or whatever, even that's too fringe. Every single election since the beginning of time, well, certainly since the beginning of the system that we currently use, is either one from just left of centre or just right of centre. There's a new form of people calling it populism, but I don't know why. I don't know why it's being called populism. It's just called winning an election. It's called appealing to the widest range of voter base that you can. I think it's the left-wing media establishment's way of trying to kind of pigeonhole a movement that they disapprove of, because it's either Bernie's left-wing populism or Trump's right-wing populism, and all the rhetoric is absurd. And for Bernie to accuse Trump of being a liar, well, yes, he's a fibber, but he doesn't tend to lie about the big stuff. In fact, he's surprisingly truthful, actually, when it comes to bigger things that most politicians don't slip up on and don't let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. As I said in my last video, it's going to be very interesting because it's clearly Bernie, and unless they pull off some scandalous thing and get some other nominee in there, maybe they'll parachute Hillary back in at the last minute. Who knows? They could be full of surprises, but otherwise, if Bernie gets the nomination, then yes, he'll go around the country doing lots of rallies, thinking he's got lots of support. but he certainly will not. I mean, Florida will no longer be a swing state. That'll be firmly in Trump's hands. As I said in the last video, if the Rust Belt, if they are feeling the effects of the good economy, then they are not going to make a radical change to a socialist. And also everybody knows that he can't get any of those things done. Any of those promises are all just pointless. He couldn't get any of those done even if he wanted to. And the paying off student loan is like the reparations thing. What about the people that have spent 20 years paying it off? Do they get a rebate? I mean, that's totally unfair and ridiculous. Free college is stupid. That just makes it a higher tier of high school, basically. It completely takes away the value of it being higher education, and you'll just have paid colleges that will do advanced degrees and different courses, and they'll just create another tier, and so the free government tier will just be worthless and meaningless. Surely that's obvious for most people to see. The healthcare thing, it's not going to work on that scale, and he hasn't even costed it out. And anyway, that's me out. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment, give us thumbs up, thumbs down, please subscribe, and join me for a couple more random ones, and then I'll be live on the campaign trail in the US. See you later, guys.